eyes full of mountains and rivers, vain longing for the distant wind and drains caterfallen blossoms, grief deepens for the spring. Lord Dongjun bent down gently and asked me, if one life could be exchanged for the sex beast, what would little senior sister choose? I shuddered involuntarily, not daring to meet his eyes. Lord Dongjun gave me the first hug since we met. I trembled in his arms. The one whose life must be sacrificed to keep the sex safe was me. One summer came early this year, and the lotus in the pond bloomed swiftly. Warm wind carried the heat as I sat drowsily at the stone table in the waterside pavilion, listening to Lord Dongjun's soft voice lecturing on poetry. He held a ruler in one hand and unrolled a bamboo slip in the other, teaching me verses. Seeing my drowsy state, he sighed softly, rolled up the slip and set it aside. Hold out your hand. Carefully extended it, letting the ruler tap lightly on my palm, a faint tickling sensation rising. Senior brother Kui is watching you. I lifted my head and saw a slender figure standing beneath willow's shade. He held a sword in his arms, a grass stalk slanted in his mouth, staring straight at me. Lord Dongjun was gentle by nature. Afraid he could not control me, our master had called Kui Zishun to help supervise my studies. But I was far too unruly. Even when Kui Zishun pressed his sword against my back to frighten me, I would still nod off amid the philosophies of ancient scholars. Kui Zishun strode toward me. The next moment he grabbed me by the back of my neck. I struggled wildly, shouting fiercely, Kui Zishun, let go. He released me as told, grinning mischievously as I jolted fully awake. I lunged to wrestle with him, but he blocked me with his scabbard. Have you memorized today's poems? He asked. I hesitated, unable to answer. He pressed on, eyes full of mountains and rivers, vain longing for the distant what is the next line. I still could not reply. Lord Dongjun stepped forward in time to save me. I have not taught her well enough. It is not her fault. It is mine. His words were always modest and reassuring, making me feel utterly foolish. Lord Dongjun, you always shield her. Kui Zishun frowned, twisting his wrist to sheath his sword. Meet me at the sword minus training field at dusk. The last part was directed at me. I shrank back, hiding more tightly behind Lord Dongjun. There was no sunset glow that evening. Only faint golden light weaving across the western sky. Kui Zishun stood with his sword behind his back, his figure tall and straight. When I arrived, he drew his gleaming sword, tapped the blade lightly, and it hummed softly. He saw me, picked a sword from the weapon rack, and tossed it over. I caught a flustered, smiling, flattering lie. Kui Zishun practiced the master's personal sword art. I was no match. Within a few rounds, his slippery, relentless sword drove me scrambling, tears streaming. Still, he did not hold back. As sword energy closed him like a net, I burst into tears. Kui Zishun froze, his sword slipping from his grasp. The blade grazed my cheek, barely cutting a lock of hair. He grabbed me anxiously. Are you hurt? I sobbed, half-minus ruthfully, turning to leave, but his grip was too strong. I leaned forward, struggling like a pheasant unable to take flight. Stop crying. I'll get you anything you want. He panicked, forgetting his sword. If you leave the field crying like this, the master will scold me tomorrow. I grew stubborn, determined to tease him then. Find me a mother. The Zhang who had been turbulent for centuries, leaving many orphans. I was one found as an infant in the wilderness by a traveling senior sister, raised to 16 without strict discipline, wild and reckless, full of mischief. Life in the sect was free and easy. I did not truly want a mother. I only wanted to embarrass Kui Zishun. Kui Zishun was stuck. Seeing his troubled face, I relented. Very well, I want a proper name. Will that do? Since being brought to the sect, disciples had only called me sister. Our master was quiet and had never given me a name. Kui Zishun nodded in relief. I only know swordplay. For such elegant matters, I must ask Lord Dongjun. 3 days later, a clean white note lay neatly on my desk. On it, in beautiful small regular script, was the character Shu, beautiful, preceded by Lord Dongjun's surname Shun. Shen Shu. I smiled brightly, memorizing every stroke carefully. Queasy. Shun disapproved of me taking Lord Dongjun's surname. Claiming he was taking advantage of me, Lord Dongjun only smiled gently, saying I was too mischievous for such an elegant name. Sunlight slanted. The cat raised by our eldest senior sister rubbed against my feet. Lord Dongjun fanned me with a folding fan, watching me scribble my name clumsily. The thing blotted messily. He laughed softly, covering my hand to guide the brush. He paused and added his own name beside mine. Shen Shu, Shen Dongjun. Thin threads connected the two names. Just as quiet joy stirred in my heart. I looked up to ask the meaning of my name, meeting his smiling eyes. He smiled often, his gaze soft like silk cocoons wrapping around one's heart. Lord Dongjun did not speak. He lowered his lashes and wrote 2 lines. The gentle maiden is fair and lovely, waiting for me at the corner of the wall. Hidden from sight, I scratched my head, hesitating. For that night, I knocked on every disciple's door except Lord Dongjun's, excitedly announcing that he must cherish me. When I roused Quizzy Shun, he yawned and pulled me inside. It's cold outside. Come in. I showed him the poem eagerly. He squinted and chuckled. It is a love poem, but hidden means concealed. What did you think it meant? He tossed the paper aside. Trimming the candle, Lord Dongjun cares nothing for romance. Stop imagining things. I argued. Blushing, he glanced at me, his expression dark. What do you like about him? Tell me. I recalled that summer years ago, when I skipped class to pick peaches and fell from the tree. Covered in mud, the eldest senior sister dragged me back for punishment. Everyone laughed except the new young disciple, who pressed his lips and stared silently. After Master and the others left, he glided over in plain robes, holding out a hand from behind his back. Your peaches. I picked them up for you. His sleeves were bulging, stained with mud from the peaches, yet he did not care. He smiled warmly. I am Dongjun. Should I call you senior sister? No. Little senior sister. From then on, this junior brother, a little older than me, held the softest place in my heart. Just for some peaches? Queasy Shuns coughed. I bring you tuck cakes every time I go down the mountain. Why don't you care for me like that? Lord Dongjun knows astronomy and geography. And HES kind, I retorted. You only bully me. Hypocritical. Shameless, cowardly. Queasy Shun raised an eyebrow playfully. He has taught you well in insults. It's late. Rest. We have class tomorrow. He ushered me out, handing me a lantern for the dark path. I walked back under a full moon. Fireflies flickered, cicadas buzzed. And I thought again of that gentle boy who had picked up my peaches. 5. I rose early the next day to attend class with Lord Dongjun. He started, surprised to see me, then walked over. A newly waxed paper umbrella covered my head. It's raining. You'll catch cold. The umbrella tilted toward me all the way. I stayed dry. His shoulder was soaked. Queasy Shun led sword practice, showing off his strength when he saw me. He spun like a flower, water droplets flying from his sleeves. I ignored him, looking at Lord Dongjun. He looked haggard, his gaze empty, his lips tight, no smile at all. I knew he was brooding over sword practice again. I disliked swordplay and refused to learn. Lord Dongjun was too frail. Master forbade him from training. I did not understand his obsession, but seeing him sad made me unhappy too. After class, I did not wrestle with Queasy Shun as usual, no matter how he teased. He sheathed his sword, following me awkwardly in the sunset. What's wrong? He called. Tell me. It'll help. I stopped abruptly and turned to smile. He nearly bumped into me. Senior brother Kui, I said, teach Lord Dongjun to sword minus fight. Looking at his soft jawline in the dusk, he suddenly seemed much more agreeable. 6. Queasy Shun complained, but he always did as I asked. The century-old peach tree in the back mountain became our secret. Each night, he taught Lord Dongjun swordsmanship beneath it. Peach blossoms had fallen, leaving small green fruits. I sat on a branch watching him train, intelligent, diligent, learning moves quickly. His plain robes glowed in moonlight. I plucked a peach and bit into it, wailing at the soreness. The two looked up. My eyes only stayed on Lord Dongjun. He smiled helplessly, gently. When I pretended to jump, he reached out to catch me. Quizishan only sneered, just as scared to jump. Here, senior sister will fall. Lord Dongjun sighed, still smiling. This quiet happiness lasted from summer to winter. When the first snow fell, Lord Dongjun danced his sword in white, strikes sharp and controlled. I praised him. Quizishan watched with crossed arms. Holding a sword changed him completely, no tenderness, only resolve. After sheathing, he often coughed violently. I patted his back. Quizishan said calmly, "Do not rush for progress." Lord Dongjun nodded gently. "I understand, brother." Snow fell all day. A messenger found us, summoning us to the sword tournament tomorrow. 7, our master's swordsmanship was famous. Every winter, challengers came. In heavy snow, outstanding disciples stood in the field, cloaks fluttering. Master let our disciples compete. When we lost, Quizishan stepped forward, defeating foes in 3 moves. I grew bored. Leaning on Lord Dongjun, a clear voice rang out, "Senior brother Qui, I challenge you." A young man with a peach-wood sword stepped out, lively in green robes. He was not a novice. He fought evenly, then pressed the tip to Quizishan's neck. The crowd gasped. "You win." Quizishan sheathed his sword, smiling. A young man bowed happily. Master asked if any other disciple would challenge him. All bowed their heads except Lord Dongjun, who stood and walked forward. "Dongjun, don't be reckless," Quizishan warned. But Lord Dongjun had already drawn his sword. "I've never seen you," the young man said. "Then meet my sword today." Lord Dongjun smiled softly. Their swords clashed, snow flying. Peachwood reed, sword silver, figures weaving. Cheers erupted. He clanged. Lord Dongjun's sword struck his jade pendant. The young man bowed excitedly. "So follows the Tao. I have finally met a match." Tao of the sword. I was confused. Our sect had never taught such a thing. Lord Dongjun and Quizishan were punished, but they did not betray me. I peeked through the door as they knelt in the main hall. Masters with clashed their backs. "Who allowed you to teach him swordsmanship?" he roared at Quizishan. "Who allowed you to steal Taoist sword techniques in your travels?" He shouted at Lord Dongjun. Master coughed heavily. They reached to help him but dared not rise. "Still it is for the best," Master said, gazing at the snow. "You have made a name. The sect's 100 lives now depend on you." Silence fell. The cat jumped onto his lap. Master smiled as if looking at his own children. 9, I felt guilty. I brought wine to apologize to Quizishan. He was practicing outside. He fell silent, then said, "I do not drink." I remembered awkwardly that Lord Dongjun was the one who liked wine. What did Quizishan like? I could not think. "Just a little," he said, sweeping snow from a stone table, preparing cups. He drank silently, cup after cup, his face flushed red by the 5th. I forced a topic. "How is Lord Dongjun?" His fingers tightened. Veins popped on his hand. He lowered his head. I called his name furfully. He lifted his eyes, red minus rimmed. "Why you never ask how Quizishan is?" "I taught him swordsmanship because you asked. I asked him to name you because you wanted. I searched for your mother, even though it's hopeless. Master wanted me to be leader. I gave it up for you. Still you never ask about me." He hiccuped head, stared, and dropped his head as if burned sorry. "I talk nonsense." He stood, staggering inside. I called his name. He waved, muttering, "It's fine." Then vomited weakly by the door. 10, I knew Lord Dongjun had ambition, and Master found him. He was a bullied beggar. Beatings and insults left him insecure, desperate for powerful swordsmanship. When apprenticed, Master asked why he wanted to learn. He answered softly, "To protect, to avenge, to be famous, to make those who hurt him respect him." That was why Master forbade him from swordplay, not just for his frail body, but fear he would seek revenge. Yet Lord Dongjun was not heartless. When late spring came, Master passed away, entrusting the sect to Lord Dongjun. After the funeral, he locked himself away, refusing food. When we broke in, he was gone. Tear tracks carved into his cheeks. The court was in chaos. Prince Pingxiao, in our region, was accused of treason. The emperor ordered his execution. Political unrest stirred the Jianghu. Lord Dongjun forced himself to manage the sect. I followed like a little shadow, trying to help. I hung mosquito nets for him. I overcame my fear of fire to make tea late at night. In quiet moments, he chatted with me, giving me gifts, amulets, prayer beads. I watched him grow mature, handling affairs skillfully, and felt happy for him. He still smiled. I ground ink while he read, seeing his gentle smile. If Senior Brother Kui were here, we could discuss affairs together, he sighed sadly. I realized Kui's Ishan had left to travel after the funeral. Half a month already. 11 late spring. I picked withered peach petals to sew a sachet for Lord Dongjun. Young disciples ran to me. Senior sister, people from the palace are here. I hurried to the hall. A wealthy eunuch in armored guards stepped out. He looked at me and smiled strangely. I ran to Lord Dongjun. He stood above, not smiling. He patted my hand. Go eat. There's your favorite vinegar fish. Tell me what's wrong. I panicked, clutching his sleeve. Late spring wind blew in, carrying dry floral scents. Lord Dongjun wore the same plain robes as when he first arrived, bending to touch my hair as gently as before. After a long pause, he asked softly, if one life could be exchanged for the sex peace, what would little senior sister choose? I shuddered, letting go. Who is it? My voice trembled. The hall fell silent, only our breathing. Finally, fabric rustled. Lord Dongjun hugged me the first time. I trembled in his arms. The one to die was me. Though no one knew, this nameless orphan was actually the illegitimate daughter of Prince Pingxiao and a village woman. I had laughed at rumors of his affairs. Now I must pay for his sin. The emperor's order within 3 days. I go to the execution block or the army would slaughter the sect. Lord Dongjun, please tell them I grew up here. I have nothing to do with him. I tried to kneel. He held me up. He looked at me softly, like a lake. But I stepped back in fear. Senior sister, the emperor is suspicious. He will root out all ties, he said quietly. I stumbled away. I locked myself in my room, ignoring all knocks. That night, Lord Dongjun came. I curled up, trembling, not answering. Senior sister? Have you slept? Eat something, he said gently. After waiting, he sighed, setting a bowl outside. I turned over, tears sliding to my lips. Then a familiar voice roared, let me in. It was Kui's Ishan. The mountain is surrounded by soldiers. Don't be reckless. I'm taking her away tonight, even if I die trying. What about the sect? Did you forget Master's last wish? Swords ring out. Brother, your swordsmanship is no match for mine now. Everything crashed over me. I screamed and opened the door. Kui's Ishan had changed. No fancy ornaments, no arrogant air. Only quiet resolve. He looked at me, lips trembling. I'm sorry. I spent all my money to learn the soldiers were coming, but I was too late. I'm sorry. He reached to hug me, then hesitated. I held his hand, sobbing, let them take me tomorrow. I'm not afraid. I glanced at Lord Dongjun. He stood with his back to me, bathed in cold moonlight. His fists clenched beneath his sleeves. 13. I sat at the vanity. Lord Dongjun combed my hair and pinned flowers. His hands were skillful. I used to beg him to do my hair while studying. He would set aside his books and twist bamboo sticks to tie my hair. I stared at his reflection. Kui's Ishan was right. Lord Dongjun did not care for love. I thought I was special. I was wrong. He was polite, decisive, unburdened by emotion. He would be a great leader. I stepped outside. The eunuch and gods waited. I scanned the crowd and saw Quizi Shun watching me. He smiled reassuringly, winking. My heart warmed. I stepped toward the prison cart. Suddenly chaos erupted. Armor clashed. Blood sprayed like festival fireworks. I looked for Quizi Shun. He was in the fray. Sword spinning, covered in blood, a living demon. I had never seen such reed. Blood, his sword tassel, his clothes, his face. He advanced on the eunuch. Lord Dongjun blocked him with his sword. Quizi Shun stared, then stopped. He said to the terrified eunuch, tell the emperor I rescued her. The sect is innocent. Chill. I'll take you away. He turned to me, his eyes shining like stars. I, dazed, I took his hand. Remembering that early summer long ago when 8-year-old Quizi Shun had held my hand the same way, saying, little sister, let's go catch butterflies. 14. Quizi Shun, lead me fleeing, finding a broken hut at the foot of a wild mountain. I dressed his wounds. He smiled and asked if I was scared on it. No one will find us, he promised. Lifting his sword. With brother here, you're safe. I cried again, thinking of his reckless fight. He fell silent, then gently touched my cheek. I did not pull away. Darkness fell. He lit a candle, making shadow rabbits dance on the wall to cheer me. In the sect, Lord Dongjun had always outshone others. Now, in this shabby hut, I truly saw Quizi Shun. Gentle. Not the teasing bully I knew. He made me feel safe. I leaned on his shoulder and fell asleep. 15 peaceful days passed until I almost forgot the bloodshed. Quizi Shun woke me at midnight, covered in blood. I reached for his wounds, but he grabbed my wrist. Don't touch. His voice was hoarse. He raised his sword and slashed a long scar across my face. I felt no pain, only blank shock. With your face ruined, no one will recognize you. Flee into the mountains, cross the range to Mayajong. They fear the tribe's medicine and goo. The army won't follow. I realized what he meant. I clutched his robes. Come with me. Quizi Shun froze, then laughed, flicking my forehead. Silly. More soldiers are coming. They'll hold them off, then find you. Come with me, I repeated numbly. Shun Shu, can't you listen just once? He smiled, but his eyes were red. He pushed me inside, closing, unbarring the door. I hammered and screamed. The clash of blades roared, then faded to silence. I stood behind the door, smelling thick blood, my mind empty. I tried to call his name, but no sound came out. I had lost my voice. 16 Mayajong was beautiful, filled with singing. A little girl carried a tea basket, singing with her mother. They invited me to the tea house to listen to stories. A girl named you rubbed ointment on my scar, joking in the local tongue. We went to listen to an old storyteller from the Central Plains. He spoke of the Zhang Hus heroes. I understood, even if I could not speak. I heard Lord Dongjun's name. In a few years, the boy I once loved had become famous, his swordsmanship unmatched. The sect flourished. I truly was happy for him. You murmured such a hero. I wonder who will match you. I smiled and shook my head, thinking of another hero, fancy ornaments. Jade crown, sword spinning like an eagle in snow, a carefree wanderer who still chose to stay by my side, teasing me, testing me with verses. A merchant from the Central Plains sold me a poetry book. I finally found the line I could not recite that day. Eyes full of mountains and rivers, vain longing for the distant wind and rain scatter fallen blossoms, grief deepens for the spring. Better to cherish the one before your eyes. I looked out at layered mountains. No water, no wind. No fallen blossoms, no one before my eyes. You elbowed me, blushing, pointing at a young man. I nodded. She smiled shyly. I like him. I signed, gently, cherish him well. He is a hero too.